Hello there, Year 4. Hope you are well. I don't know about you, but I've really been enjoying this week's reading. I think it's a really sweet chapter, and I am looking forward to answering the inference questions with you in just a moment. But you know what we've got to do first, and that is recap, of course, those 8 key bits of vocabulary that are behind me that we've been focusing on over the last couple of days. So, feel free to pause the video now, just to get your head in the right frame of mind. Make sure, do I know the words? Do I know the definitions, what they mean? And do I know the actions as well? Because that's going to be really important. So if you feel like you need that extra minute or two, now is the time to pause the video and get your head in the right frame of mind. So let's get started. I am going to this time do the action of the word, and I would like you to call out at the screen whatever the word I am acting out is. So try and do it as quickly but as accurately as possible. So let's start with, what am I doing? I'm pulling off the outside layer of something, so the word should be stripping. Excellent, stripping, well done. Next word. If I'm drawing or painting something, I am designing. Excellent. Next one. I'm looking really scared. I am horrified, of course, not to get confused with another word which will be coming up quite soon. So next action. Remember, try and do it as quickly as you can. So I put these things in order, so I have arranged them. Very good. Next word. Of course, that one is soothe. Very good, guys. That's what we like. I swear I can hear you through the screen. You're calling so loudly. Let's keep it going. Next word. If I've stayed in one place, I have remained. Excellent. I think we're getting very close to the end now. Which words do we have to go? Of course. So I have nothing, which means I lack or lacked. Very good. And final one. Mortified, of course, which is synonymous. It's very much a synonym of horrified, but remember, mortified has a bit more of a feeling of embarrassment towards it, but sometimes those two words can be interchangeable. Very good, guys. I think we've really done well on learning that vocabulary, and hopefully you can use those 8 words in your writing this week, perhaps in persuasive adverts. Definitely, you're certainly designing a new invention, or in just in general conversation. So really looking out for those in your uploads on Seesaw. So we are, of course, doing our inference questions as it is a Wednesday. So let's go through and look at an example inference question that you're going to be doing today. So I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully you can see this question here. The stories Nellie told struck him as the most important thing in the world. Page 77. In this sentence, the word struck is closest in meaning to hurt, hit, smacked, or felt like. So, many of the questions that you're going to be looking at today are multiple choice. And I know many of you will be quite happy with that because it means that you don't have to write so much in full sentences. There's not as much writing to do. However, be wary, it does not mean that you can race through these questions or that they are any easier. In fact, it takes just as much concentration and reading to work this out. What a lot of people might do is say, okay, the word here is struck, and I know that if to strike something is the same as hit. So I'm just going to tick that there and move on to the next question. However, you haven't read the question properly or gone through the steps. So we're going to do that together now. If it has quote marks around it, speech marks on either side, it means it has been pulled directly from the text. So it means that you can find that exact sentence in Edward Tulane on page 77. And we need to find not what does struck mean or what is it closest in meaning to, what is it closest in meaning to in that sentence. So it's very important that even though we've got the sentence here, we're still going to follow these steps and find it in the book. So first thing we need to do, underline the keywords in the question. Well, there's one really main keyword there, which of course is struck, as that's the word that we're looking for. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to skim and scan the text for this sentence up here. So we want to find the sentence which says, the stories Nelly told struck him as the most important thing in the world. So let's go over to my visualizer, which conveniently is already open at page 77. So where can we find it? We're going to skim and scan. I always find using a finger or a pen is really useful. Here we go. So, but now the stories Nelly told struck him as the most important thing in the world. Excellent. Now, what's the next step? Of course, step 3, we need to read around the sentence. So that means I would say read the sentence before and the sentence after. So we have a really good idea of what's happening in this section. So I'm going to do it from the sentence up here. Before, when Abilene talked to him, everything had seemed so boring, so pointless. But now the stories Nelly told struck him as the most important thing in the world, and he listened as if his life depended on what she said. So here we can see the word struck. Let's have a look at the options. Now we can see initially, I would have said that hit and struck are the closest in meaning, but it doesn't mean Nelly's stories aren't actually hitting him. So we can definitely rule that one out. It's not physically hitting him. So in a similar way, which other words are not going to work? Definitely not going to be smacked. So even though struck and smacked could be used in the same way, you could say, oh, a bully struck me across the face, or a bully smacked me across the face. Those would mean the same thing. However, you aren't saying that the stories Nelly told smacked him as the most important thing in the world, or even hurt him. Even though being physically struck can hurt, it doesn't mean that in the same way. So the one option I've got left is felt like. So let's see if that works. Remember, it doesn't need to fit perfectly in the sentence. It just needs to have the same or similar meaning too. So the stories that Nelly told felt like the most important thing in the world. That definitely fits. So we can tick that. So as I said, this doesn't mean you need to exactly replace it. So because otherwise it wouldn't make grammatical sense. The stories Nelly told felt like him as the most important thing in the world. It just is asking, what is it most similar to? And I think we can agree that the stories aren't physically hitting Edward or Susanna, but they are feeling like the most important thing in the world. So really important that even if you think you know what the word means, that's not what the question's asking you. It means in the context of the question, what is it closest in meaning to? So that can really vary. So what I'd like you to do, please, pause the video here. Can you then find the video on the learning document of me reading the text? Or, as it's the last day, and as you've heard me read, the last day of questions, I should say, and you've heard me read the text a couple of times by this stage at least, can you go and find the text and read it yourself? Maybe read it out loud to someone would be really, really good, just to get that final understanding of the text so that you're really ready to answer these inference questions. So pause the video here, look for either watch the video of me reading the text or find the text and read it yourself. All of that information will be on the learning document. Off you go. So hopefully you've read that one more time and you are ready to get started on the questions. So let's see what they are. Here are all your questions. You have 8 to do. Many of them, I think 5 or 6 of them in total, are what are the words closest in meaning to, or tick the most appropriate word. So this means you're going to be using much less time in writing, but that time shouldn't be squandered. You should be using that time to really find out what those words actually mean and making sure you follow these steps that are at the bottom of the screen here. So guys, pause the video now. If also there is an extension to write a paragraph as Edward, describing what else you might like to do with Nellie and Lawrence. So thinking about what they do with them already. They read the bedtime stories. Lawrence takes him out in the evening on his shoulder while he smokes a pipe. What other things might Edward want to do with them? Okay, so looking forward to seeing these. Pause the video now. All the questions are on the screen in front of you and the extension. Off you go. Well done, guys. Hopefully you are all finished there and have many of you written a really great extension as well. Now, grab a different color pen or pencil and we can go through these and mark them together. So I'm going to go through them really quickly here. I'm not taking too much time to read them. I would suggest maybe pausing the video and going through them yourself. So we have number one, which statement best describes how Nellie was feeling when she talked to Edward? It's pleased. Arranged in this context is closest in meaning to positioned. Steamed is closest in meaning to fogged. Why do you think Edward liked to listen to Nellie's stories? Because he was grateful not to be alone at the bottom of the sea and liked her company. Number 5, why do you think Nellie and Lawrence wanted Edward to sit at the table? Because they felt he was part of the family and he should have a seat at the table. Number 6, which statement best describes how Lawrence was feeling when he walked Edward round town? Proud. They were sweet in his ears. That's in closest meaning to lovely. So that's a prime example that maybe if before you've read the text, you might think sweet and sugary are the closest in meanings, but in fact, they were sugary in his ears. No, it's that it was lovely in his ears. So really important that you read through the text before you answer. And then finally, which statement best describes how Edward felt when he thought of Pellegrina? Concerned would be the word that is closest in meaning there. And then hopefully loads of you have written a really nice paragraph, which myself, Miss Boots and Miss Jones cannot wait to read on Seesaw when you upload those today. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen there. Well, thank you so much for all your hard work. Really looking forward to answering the last big question that we're going to be doing on Edward Tulane before we move on to a new text next week. Thank you so much for your hard work, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Goodbye.